And joining us now, we have David Fry. David, you were vacationing with your family in Kerr County when the storms hit and the floodwaters began to rise. Tell us more about maybe the first signs that you knew something was definitely wrong.
So Thursday, we had arrived at the River Inn, as is our annual tradition. We arrived there around 6 or 6:30. There had been light intermittent showers throughout the day that we had traveled through as we went through the hill country moving out towards Kerr County. But that evening, around 12 a.m. or so, the rains definitely picked up, started to intensify, as did the electrical activity. Yeah, I sat outside and really just watched that weather roll in. And by about 2 a.m., we noticed that the waters were starting to crest the banks. Not uncommon for that area, obviously. It's called Flood Alley for a reason. In years past, we have seen that watermark move up maybe 5 or 6 feet outside the banks, but certainly nothing like this. And again, by 2:45, the management there at the River Inn had made the decision, hey, it is time for us to go start getting folks up and getting them out of here as quickly as possible. So at that point, again, we started going through room by room, banging on doors, making sure that people were up and ideally had as much notice as possible to seek refuge higher ground.
So walk us through what happened. Once you do that, you're going to get people awake and alert. Then what happened? Did you all have somewhere safe you could go after that?
Safe is a very, very relative term in this instance. Again, at that point, it really was just a mass exodus. We started moving back to the parking lot at the rear of the building, really the point furthest away from the riverbanks and floodwaters. Initially, our plan had been to move out of the parking lot. There's really only one road in or out, and there is one access point to move to higher ground. Unfortunately, at the time that we made the departure, the waters were rising so fast that turnoff was cut off. We could not make it any higher. So at that point, a lot of us had to just sit at the highest point in the road, which is the highest point away from the water on either side. We sat in those cars for about 45 minutes and watched that water steadily rise, creep closer to the edge of the road. As the water began to fill up on the road, we again had to just make a decision. It's time to go now. So people started exiting their vehicles, really looking for any place to go. I was in a vehicle with one of my sons, as well as his girlfriend. My wife and my other children were about 150 yards in front of us on the road. And so, again, when we did make that snap decision to go, I sent the older two kids in search of higher ground and had to move forward to get my spouse and my young child. At that point, again, it's really just carnage and chaos all around you. You're looking to see where are other people going? Is there anybody that needs help? And really, really just a helpless feeling in that regard. But again, we were able to make it back down the road, back to the River Inn. There is a building immediately at the entrance. There were a handful of residents and guests that were able to get access to that second floor apartment prior to the waters rising. At the point that we got back, the waters were too high for us to access the stairwell to get anybody to that front door. At that point, one of my wife's cousins, David Lane, and David, thank you very much, started shouting us from the rooftop. He had made it out through a window and gained access to the roof. At that point, myself and a few other people, big shout out to Scott, the general manager there at the River Inn. He was absolutely crucial in this. But we did begin to just boost people up, lift them onto the roof, try to get people out of harm's way as quickly as possible.
David, I can't even imagine just the adrenaline pumping. And as a parent, even when I'm panicking, I don't want my kids to know that I'm panicking. How were you able to kind of keep your composure and kind of let them know everything's going to be okay? But I know you internally were probably thinking all these different kinds of things as all this was transpiring.
That's correct. So unless you have the dump button ready, I will spare you all what my initial thoughts were. That being said, Yeah, I've been in emergent situations in the past. This is the first time that it has ever affected or potentially impacted my family directly. And so when that happens, yeah, it definitely changes the calculus and the personal dynamics. So there is that initial sense of terror. And to your point, Yvonne, in those situations, it is crucial to maintain your composure, right? To fake it till you make it, to give the people around you a sense of well-being and confidence, to not add to the chaos.
Yeah, yeah.
You mentioned the term flood alley, which we've learned a lot about in the last few days. In this region of Texas is prone to seeing flood waters and the rivers rise. At any point, obviously you guys warned each other along the way, but at any point was there an official notice, an official warning, get out now kind of a message from anybody?
So, Brian, certainly appreciate the question, and I think that it is much more nuanced than a lot of people are trying to make it out to be at this point. Yes, that area is subject to flooding. A lot of folks from here in the Central Texas region are familiar with both the nature of the weather patterns that we have, but also the geography and some of the unique challenges. We do have a lot of hills. We've got a ton of waterways out there. The ground itself, right? A lot of caliche. A lot of flint and hard rock. When the water, when the ground gets saturated to a certain point, there's no place for that water to go. And so it is going to go downhill. It is going to head for the lowest spot. And so in those instances, it is crucial that you understand where you're at, that you have a plan, and more than that, relayed that plan to anybody else that may be involved, that they know what their responsibilities are in the event of emergency, that they know where you're going to meet up. So please, if you have not done that before, go ahead and get a plan together.
Getting a plan
That's a great
together,
point.
I think, is such a good bit of advice. Now, as far as just how quickly the water rose, you mentioned at one point, did you see around 2:45 in the morning? That was when you were getting some word from the management, right? But then you didn't also notice, you said some points you were in the car and then you all were looking at higher ground. So like from beginning to where it ended, how long are we talking about in terms of length of time?
Well, again, to address that as well as the previous question, we did not have any official notice, and that is due by and large to the geography of the area and lack of cell coverage. Now, that being said, within a matter of about 15 to 20 minutes, the water had moved probably 30 to 40 yards beyond the banks of the Guadalupe. And at that point, had probably seen 15 or so feet of elevation change. When we finally got out to the road, you were talking about a distance of about 100 yards and closer to 30 feet of elevation change. So when you think about the rate at which the water was rising, if you want a better illustration, go take a glass, take it to your sink, cut that faucet on full force, watch how fast that cup fills up, and realize that was happening at approximately the same rate, but over thousands of acres, millions and millions of square feet. So certainly unlike anything that I've ever seen before.
Finally, again, thanks so much for sharing your story with us. Everybody in your family is okay, I assume. And how did that end? How did you get to the point where you felt, okay, I'm through this horrific event?
So yes, first of all, thank you for asking. Our family is all intact and doing relatively well. Certainly some minor bumps and bruises, but nothing to be worried about. Also, there is, a little bit of just anxiety, nervousness, residual fear, right, that people are processing and dealing with. Nothing on the scale that a lot of the folks of Kerr County and throughout Central Texas have been affected by, but by and large, we are doing well.
David,
with regard to kind of the conclusion of the evening, by about 5 a.m. or so, the rains had stopped completely. The waters themselves receded very quickly. But again, once we had everybody up on the roof, waters had gotten so high at that point in time, there was not any chance for myself or Scott, the general manager out there, to get up to the roof. So we rode out the remainder of the evening with another gentleman and a dog named Scooby sitting on top of a 1-ton truck and just waiting for it to clear to the point that we could get back to our families.
David, this is a vacation that you all plan every year. It's an annual vacation. How many of you were in total were you with the family? And this is something you plan on every year, you look forward to?
That's correct. This is something that my wife's family has done for decades at this point. My wife, her cousins all attended the various youth camps that are out there. So we definitely have some strong ties there. A lot of them served as, counselors there throughout the years. And so that's a tradition that we've continued. Our young son was slated to start out at Camp La Junta this following summer. Obviously a minor inconvenience to us, but just kind of reflects the destruction of the area and how widespread the devastation has been.
All right, David Fry, thank you so much for your time this morning. We appreciate you sharing your story. We're so glad to hear that your family is okay and you guys made it through that terrible event. But gosh, our thoughts are with you all and that entire area. Thanks so much for being with us here on KVUE Plus this morning.
Brian and Bon, thank you.